Welcome to Synagogues of England, Part 7. Our first stop is in the town of Maidenhead, which is in Berkshire, England, and has about 73,000 residents. There is a Jewish house of worship called the Maidenhead Synagogue, and they say they're in the heart of the Thames Valley. It is associated with the Reform movement, and its rabbi is Dr. Jonathan Romaine. Maidenhead is also about 25 miles west of London. This congregation began, as some others did as well, during World War II, when groups of Jews were evacuated from the main urban area of London. In 1953, several who decided not to return to the core area of London purchased a house and converted it into a synagogue. The congregation purchased this location in Grenfell Lodge in the autumn time of the year 2000. There are Shabbat services on Saturday mornings. Our next stop takes us to the Milton Keynes and District Reform Synagogue. The name sounds like an economist, but it's actually a city in the southern part of England and has an urban area population of more than 225,000. The congregation was established in 1978. Services are not necessarily held every week, and they can either be on a Friday evening or a Saturday morning for Shabbat. The building shown here was dedicated in April of 2003. At one time, the congregation had a rabbi. Now it uses the services of visiting and student rabbis. Here is another look at the synagogue building. Our next stop takes us to the town of Newcastle upon the Tyne River, and it is in the northeast section of England. It has a population of close to 270,000. Coal mining was the major form of business for many years in the town of Newcastle, which generated a British general uses expression of coals to Newcastle, which meant doing something that didn't need to be done. But apparently Newcastle had a large enough composition of Jewish people to satisfy the need for two different houses of worship. Here is the Newcastle Reform Synagogue, also known as Ner Tamid, which in English means eternal lamp. There are about 170 adults and children who are members of this congregation. Sybil Sheridan came to this congregation in 1980, first as the student rabbi. 38 years later, she is now the permanent rabbi. The congregation was formed in around 1962. The building shown here was constructed in 1982. The congregation usually holds services for Shabbat on Friday evenings and Saturday mornings, but there may be a skipped service on an occasional basis. The other congregation is the Newcastle United Hebrew Congregation. It is of the Orthodox persuasion. The congregation came about from the result of a merger in 1973 of three synagogues: the Old Hebrew Congregation, the Jesmond Congregation, and the Gosforth and Kenton congregations. This overhead shot shows the building that was erected in 1986 in the Colzian Park area. It can seat 200 congregants. It also hosts a mikveh. Its rabbi is Aaron Lipsy. There are probably about 350 Jews who are members of the UHC, or United Hebrew Congregation, and there may be another 300 who live in the area who are not affiliated with the synagogue. Full services are offered on a daily basis. We move along to Northampton, which is a town in the East Midlands region and has a population of more than 215,000. We believe this is the site of the Northampton Hebrew Congregation. The community itself was established in 1888. Although this building looks a little bit weather-beaten, it was erected in 1965. The prior building at this site had been purchased for the use of a synagogue in 1890 and had 74 years of usage. We're not sure how many Jews live in this community now, but back in 1991, 322 declared themselves of this faith. The congregation does not publish its spiritual leader nor calendar of services, although we believe there is at least a Friday night Shabbat service. The camera moves along to a city in Norfolk County in the northeast area of England called Norwich. We have here two synagogues. The first is called the Norwich Hebrew Congregation. Services are held on Saturday mornings for Shabbat only. Its present synagogue was constructed in 1969. The congregation does not list the name of a current spiritual leader. And finally, here is the Norwich Liberal Jewish Community. It used to be known as the Progressive Jewish Community of East Anglia. Its current rabbi is Leah Jordan, and it uses the Old Town Meeting Hall. It should be noted, though, that the rabbi only visits the congregation for one weekend a month. So it's also possible to have visiting rabbis conduct services as well as even for the high holidays. It also tries to be good neighbors to the Norwich Hebrew congregation previously shown, which is of the Orthodox persuasion, and arranges for joint activities on occasional basis. We have finished this tour, but there are still many more synagogues in the country of England to check out. So bye for now, and see you real soon.